Hey everyone, Todd here, internalarchitect.com, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about the big question, who am I? Now, this is a really important question to ask yourself as you have made the determination that you really want to start changing your life and start really getting out of that cancer funk that kind of put you into this depression state that you're in. But before I get going, please hit subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications on when I put out a video. And at the end of the video, please leave a comment and let me know what you think. So the question, who am I? Why is this such an important question? Well, there's a number of reasons. There's three main reasons that I can think of that really are integral into asking yourself the important question. And the first one is it really starts to get to the root of your vulnerability. And I mean, this is deep stuff here. This is where we start getting into kind of the root of why we are having struggles, in the first place. So to be able to understand where our vulnerabilities are really means a lot into how we can start laying the groundwork to start building that new foundation in which we grow. The second thing is understanding and accepting our limits. And by understanding where our vulnerabilities are, we can now accept what our limits are. And I mean this in our physical and our mental capacity. Before cancer, we were really eager and, maybe full of life, or maybe some of us were just complacent and just in a dull sense of life and really having a hard time, perhaps, trying to figure out what it is that we wanted to do. There's a very good chance that we may have been in a job or work situation that wasn't fulfilling, and a lot of these things, maybe we were living in a place that we didn't want to live, and all these things were compounding that kind of led us into this complacency type of life. There was no fulfillment, there was no meaning and purpose. So by being able to break it down, to start asking these serious questions, especially who am I, that really starts to crack the shell of where we're at and why we might be feeling vulnerable and why we might be feeling fear in our lives at this moment. This question, who am I, is part of the 4 W's, which I talk about in my book, Internal Architect. And all 4 of these are super important when it comes to breaking down this first little bit. After we kind of realize that we need to have this change, we decide that it feels better to forgive some people that may have wronged us, to get that weight lifted off our shoulders, and then to start really wanting to have that change in belief and habits and trying to stay positive. This is kind of the next step in that. And by asking this first question in the 4 W's, who am I, really starts to bring about the idea of what it is and how your mind might work a little bit. For us novices that really don't understand the psychology of how our brain works. This is how I kind of started this process of getting over a lot of my fears and a lot of my angsts and anxieties that I was dealing with in my life. And it also helped me learn about myself and where I was as a person also, and made me really realize that I am human, that I make mistakes, and I'm okay with that now. And by asking myself, who am I, really brought this about. This really helps us rebuild our sense of morality and self-value. And that's why I really like trying to answer this question as purely as possible. Now, it's not easy. There's actually a little exercise that you can do that can help bring about understanding a little bit more. And, like I said before, this helps kind of crack the shell of what it is that we're trying to accomplish here. I went through a exercise with a friend of mine called Empty the Cup. I'm sure some of you have heard about this before. And what this does is it starts to kind of empty a lot of the things about you that might be floating around in your head. And I kind of made a little worksheet here so that you can see. And what it is a way to kind of see who it is that you are, visually see. And that's one of the best things about doing this exercise is what you think is going on with you. And, on the left side of this column, we have the do and have dones in our life. And then the right side is everything that you are. And so the do and have dones is essentially everything that you have done in your past, the skills that you have learned. And by writing everything down, it kind of gives you a sense of just what it is that has gone on in your life. And then everything that you are in the right column is everything that you are right now. The best examples would be like, for me, I am a husband, I'm a stepfather, I am a mountain biker, I'm a Breckenridge resident, I love my community, things like that really help do this. Now, the best way to do this is get into a really quiet room, no distractions, leave your phone out of the room, leave everything off on silent, whatever, and spend 30 minutes and write down 15 minutes on each column what you have done in your life and everything that you are. And then you can actually have a little bit of a visual look and see what this is. Doesn't matter what it is you put down, good or bad, because whether or not you have done things that you regret or you have done a lot of things that are really good, you need to be able to visually see these in order to get a clear picture of where you're at. And by doing this, you will start to see kind of how this all breaks down. So once you have done this, then it makes a lot of sense for you to continue moving on to the next step of the 4 W's, and that is, what have I learned? And we'll get into that in the next video. But so the nice thing about why the 4 W's is really critically important is because it doesn't matter if you went through cancer or not. If you had a challenging upbringing, if you had a really difficult experience in your life, these 4 questions will help you figure out a lot of where you're at, and maybe even bring up some of the reasons why you want to go through some personal growth and start figuring out who you are. Because I think there's a lot of anger in everyone right now, and in order to start really turning that tide to becoming more positive, these questions are really critical to ask yourself. I know that it's really easy for me to kind of go down that path of anger and negative self-talk, and I experienced it a little bit last night as I was going to bed. I was just getting really frustrated with just a situation that's been going on, and once I kind of turn that into negative self-talk, it just festers and it continues, And by asking these important questions, you start to kind of turn that tide against that negative self-talk, and you start asking yourself really important questions, and that just starts to manifest in a way that really can be positive in the long run for you. And I'm telling you, it's not easy. This empty the cup exercise is a tough one, because you're really facing your challenges, of who you are and what you've done in your past. And like I said, there is no wrong answer. You should put your regrets down and the do and haves done, just so that you get them out. You need to see them, and by seeing them, it gives you a chance to really face them and start making some choices on how you want to approach it in the rest of your life. The first time I ever did this, and I've done this a number of times, right? The first time I did it, I ended up taking this sheet, and I remember burning it because it was something that I wanted to just set it free. I wanted to let it be something that was in my past, and that by burning this list originally was giving myself a chance to let it go. And it was a way for me to release a lot of the old anxiety and the old frustrations that I had. And that's why I think it's you can do what you do. It doesn't matter. I just happened to do it that way because I needed some sort of a symbolism thing for myself to really enjoy the next step of what I was trying to do. So when you're done with this, go ahead and just take a few moments to reflect on everything that you've done. I also want you to save this piece of paper, because you're going to end up using it for another exercise a little later down the road. But reflect on what it is that you wrote down here, because these are the things that are really important. These are the things that have made you up until this point. And for that, just continue working on this, and you can always add to this as things pop into your mind that you may have forgotten or have buried in your subconscious because of maybe just some weird experience. But nonetheless, that's kind of where I'm at with this. I know that this question can be asked in a lot of different ways, and I just want you to know that by asking this question to yourself and then doing this exercise will really help start to structure how you end up literally building the foundation for how you're going to rebuild yourself. So I love this exercise. I think it's great, and I think you guys will learn something from it. But be honest with yourself, okay? So thank you for listening. If you have any questions or comments, again, hit me in the comment section below and I'll get to them as soon as I can. And just want to say thank you for your time and energy. And I appreciate everything you guys do and for watching the videos. Again, thank you, and I will see you on the next video.